Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unreal Engine 4 tutorial. In today's video I'm going to be going over how to punch an AI. So I've done this previously, however I'm just improving upon it and making it better. I am starting from scratch, so you don't need to watch that video. Again, I'm just making this one a little bit better and a bit more efficient. So for example, we're going to actually react to more of the hands rather than any part of our body when we hit them, and the AI will have a reaction hit depending on which way they're hit. So if we punch them from the right, they'll react to the right, and vice versa for the left as well. So the best way to show you is for me to just get in, hit play and show you. So I go over here, I'm going to punch. Actually, let me turn off the line trace there. Sorry, that was for testing. So if I go back in and I punch them, you can see that if we actually go close enough to hit them, we're going to hit them there. So we hit them from the left, they react to the left. The right, like so. So this works perfectly like this. And again, it's very easy to customize. So you may see there that it's reacting to the wrong hand or anything like that. That's just because when I've quickly set up the different animations. But I'll show you how to do it with your own animations and how to get them working perfectly for different ones. And it's very simple, we just need to rename the animations, so I may have just given some of them the wrong name. Again, we just rename the animations to get them to what we want, so they have the correct reaction. So without further ado, let me delete this code and I'll show you how I've done it. So the first thing we want to do is we want to open up our character blueprint. And this is so we can actually set up punching and our punching animations. So what we're going to do is open that up. So for me that's content, third person BP, blueprints, third person character. And once we're in here, we also want to create an action mapping. So we're going to go to edit, project settings. Once it loads, we're going to go down to input on the left down here and create an action mapping. So let me actually delete that one there. What we're going to do is just hit the plus action mappings here, name it whatever we want. So I'm going to name mine punch. I'm going to change it from none to be the left click or left mouse button. Sorry, you can give it absolutely whatever button you like. This is just when we press this button, it's going to fire off the punch action mapping, which means we can fire off the code we want when we're punching. So I'm going to close that like so. And then back in our event graph in our character blueprint, we can right click and search what we just named it. So I named mine punch, and you see we have action events punch there. So like I say, when we press right mouse button, it's going to fire off this code, which is what we want for punching. So now I'm going to hold down B, left click to get a branch, connecting that to the pressed, because we want to make sure that we're only punching when we want to. And I don't want to be able to punch when we're falling through the air or when we're already punching. So to do that, I'm going to get the character movement from the top left up here and get is falling, or just is falling, sorry. So is falling there. And then at the return value of that, we're going to get an and boolean. And the other end of that, we're going to right click, promote to variable, naming it is punching, leaving the default value as false, like so. And then out of the and, we're going to get a not boolean. So if we are not falling and we're not punching, and then that goes into the branch there. Now that I think about it, the not doesn't want to come afterwards, it wants to go before. Because what would happen with that is, what a not does is it just inverses this essentially. So if we're not falling, but we are punching, this and will be false, because both of them need to be true. So if that's false, the not will make it true, meaning we can fire off the code. But I said we're already punching, so we don't want that to be true. So we're going to get rid of that not, and instead come out of is falling and get a not boolean, connecting that into A, and come out of is punching and also get a not boolean, connecting that into the second part of the and. The and goes back into the branch like so. So now if we are not falling and we're not punching, we can fire off the code. So you can just put them straight into the and then come out of false to the branch instead, but I just like coming out of true. So then out of true of this branch, we want to set is punching to true, because we are now punching. And after this, we want to play our animation. So what I'm going to do is also create another variable and naming it left hand, or is left hand, question mark, or even right hand. So this is essentially to see which hand we're currently punching with. And I'm going to set that after is punching as well. Leaving it as it is now, we're going to come back to it in a second. Out of this, we're going to get a play anim montage, like so. The anim montage, we're going to right click, promote it to a variable, and I'm going to name this punching anim array, like so, or anything like that. And then up in the top right here, we're going to select the variable icon up there and change it to an array, which is a 3x3 grid there. Hit change variable type and close it like so. So now we have an array, and just disconnect it because we only right click promote to variable just to make it a little bit easier for us. So we're going to come out of this and get a copy, and that will go into the anim montage there. So if we compile this, we can put our animations into this animation montage array here. So this helps us get a random animation for when we're punching. And to make it random, we're going to come at the index of the get and get a random integer in range, minimum as 0, maximum as the amount of animations we have. So let's create those animations now. So I'm going to move this over a bit, move this back as well. So like I said, let's create them. So we'll minimize this, go to where we have our animations saved, which for me is punch updated here. So I have all of these animations. I'll leave a link to these in the description down below, but I just got these from Mixmo and retargeted them to the UE4 mannequin. And as you can see, I have them named correctly. So I have cross punch right anim, left impact, left punch, left punching, right elbow, because all of these have either left or right in the name of them, because that way the code will know whether they are left or right. So you want to make sure you've done that as well. So if I open right hook punch, for example, you see we're punching with the right hand, like so, because I want the damage to be dealt by the right hand. So I'm going to close that, and then I'm going to select all of these animations, right click on them, create anim montage, and now we have an animation montage for all of these animations like so. So we're going to go back into our character blueprint here, select the animation array, and we can add in as many as we want here in the array element. So actually, let's see how many we have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, I believe. So let me add those in. So we're going to add in 8 array elements. So we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now, because we started at 0, this is 8. So now let's add in all of these. So I'm going to minimize that, select them in here, and press the arrow there to easily put them in. Make sure it's the animation montage, not the animation. So we've got the cross punch. I think I may have counted left impact, so we don't need that. Left punch, left punching 2, right elbow, right hook, and again you can use as many as you want. You don't need to use all of these, and it doesn't need to be random either. You can just use the one. And right punching and right punching 3. So yeah, I don't need that bottom one, so what I can do is just delete that like so, and now we have our animations in here. So now it's going to play a random animation between them. So let's set the max as 6, as we have 6 different array elements in there. So like I say, this is going to play a random animation for us, which is perfect. But we also want to set whether it's the left hand or not, which like I say, we're doing via the titles that we gave them. So we'll come at the get a copy again, and we're going to get display name, so it's going to get the name of them. And out of the return value of this, we're going to get a contains under string there. We're going to search in that display name with the substring of left, so if it is the left hand or not, which again we have in the name of them. We don't need to tick use case or search mend, because use case means it has to be uppercase or lowercase, which we don't want, and search mend means it's going to search from the end. So I'm going to leave it as this, with the return value going to set left hand there. I'm going to move that out a bit like so. So now we're going to play a random animation, and the code knows whether it's the left or right hand dealing damage, which is perfect. So now after the play and a montage, we're going to hold down S, left click to get a sequence, connecting that in there like so. What we're going to do here is come out the return value of the play and a montage and get a delay, like so, connecting that into then 0 of the sequence. Out of the completed of this, we're going to set is punching to be false. So once we've finished playing the animation, so we've finished the punch, we're going to set is punching to false, so we can then punch again. Out of then 1, we want to do some code for actually detecting whether we've hit the AI or not. So let's do that now. So what I'm going to do is just come underneath this, right click and add a custom event. I'm going to name this one punch trace, as we're going to be doing traces. So then out of this, I'm going to hold down B, left click to get a branch, because we want to loop this, but only while we're punching. So I'm then going to put the is punching in the condition there, like so. Out of true of this, we're going to get a capsule trace for objects there. The start, we want to do it on our hand. So we're going to drag and drop a reference to our mesh here. So get mesh. Out of that, we're going to get socket location, like so. In socket name, I'll do in a second, but the return value of this is going to go into the start and end of the capsule trace, because I just want the capsule trace to only be on the left hand. Then the in socket name, we're actually going to come out of that and get a select, like so. Option 0 being hand underscore L, option 1 being hand underscore R, because that is then our left and right hands. So if you're not sure what they are for you, because they do need to be so exactly the same, you can open up your skeleton which you're using the animation on. So for me, that's going to be in content, mannequin, character, mesh, skeleton, so the UE4 mannequin skeleton. And you see if I select the right hand, it's hand underscore R, and the same with the left is hand underscore L. So make sure you spell it exactly correctly, like so. I'm going to close that. Back on the select, we're going to change the wildcard to be Boolean. So it's going to select whether it's the left or right hand, dependent on a Boolean value. The index of this wants to be our Boolean left hand we just made. So actually, I want to change this around. Because you see left hand goes in there. If it's false, it needs to be hand R. So let's change that to hand R. If it's true, it needs to be hand L. Because if left hand is true, we want to fire off the line trace so the damage is being dealt on the right hand, or the left hand, sorry. So again, using the names up here, we're determining which hand we want to do the code on, which is going to work perfectly for us. Back on the capsule trace, the radius I'm going to have as 22, the half height as 22 as well. Object types, I'm going to make array, and in this I'm going to change it to pawn, because we want to be overlapping a pawn, which is another player or an AI or a character of any kind, and everything else we can leave the same, making sure that you do have ignore self ticked, because otherwise it's going to try to punch itself, which obviously we don't want to do. After this, we're going to hold down B and left click to get a branch, connecting that into the execution and the condition into the return value, and out hit, we're going to break hit result. The branch is so that we're only firing off the code if we hit something, and the break hit result is so we can see what we hit. So what we're going to do is open up the break hit result, come out of hit actor, and we're going to cast to our AI we want to punch, which for me is AI punch updated like so, connecting that into the true like that. Out of as AI punch updated, so out of your character, we're going to fire off some more code, which we need to make, which we'll do in a second. Out of false of the branch, we're going to hold down D, left click to get a delay, connecting that in there. The duration is going to be 0.01, and now they're completed, we're going to call event punch trace, which is going to loop it until we're no longer punching. So that will then work perfectly for us, and then we need to call this as well so it does fire off, and that's again out of then one of the sequence. We're going to call function punch trace there like so. So when we start punching, we're going to fire off the trace, and the trace is going to loop until we stop punching, which works perfectly. And again, there's only one more thing we need to add on here, which we'll do after we've created the code in the AI. So let's compile, save, and open up our AI blueprint, which for me is in my punching folder, so punch updated, mine's just AI punch updated there. In here, what I want to do is right click and add a custom event, and I'm going to name this one hit, or on hit, or punched, anything like that. And also I should mention, if you don't have an AI, you can very easily just duplicate the character blueprint to get one, and I do have videos where I'm creating AIs as well, if you'd like to go see that. But I assume you already have one since you're watching this video. Out of this hit custom event that we just made here, we're going to hold down O and left click to get a do once, connecting that in there, and that's just to prevent it from spamming, because we don't want to fire this off every single second and every single millisecond if you want that the character is overlapping and punching the pawn. We want to do it once, so the player punches a pawn, it reacts, if it punches again, it'll react again, but not for the whole duration that the AI's hand is overlapping. So out of completed, we're going to play sound at location, if you have a sound effect that you want to add for this. So I believe I do from the previous tutorial, which is probably just named punch, or impact cue there. The location, we want to get actor location, so it's going to play the sound effect at the location of the AI. I'll leave a link in the description down below to these sound effects as well. Out of this, we're going to play anim montage, like so. With the anim montage, we're going to get a select node once again, and we're going to change the wildcard to be a boolean again. And we want to access the left-hand boolean we made in the character blueprint. So what we want to do is create a reference to our character blueprint. So we're going to hold down P and left click to get event begin play. Out of this, we're going to cast to our character, which for me is the third person character, and the object is going to be get player character, like so. And then as third person character, we want to right click, promote to variable, naming this one character reference, and now we have a reference to our character, which if we come at this, we can access that left hand boolean there. We don't want to do it there. What we want to do is come back down here, drag and drop that character reference in here, get character ref. Out of this, we're going to get left hand. That will go into the index there. So now we're going to play an impact animation dependent on whether it's the left or right hand. So if it is the left hand, so true, we want to get our left impact anim montage we made earlier, and false wants to be our right impact montage we made earlier as well. And that's perfect. So now it's going to play the correct animation. I also want to decrease the AI's health when I punch them. So what I'm going to do is hold down D, left click to get a delay, connecting the return value into there, like so, into the duration, sorry. So it's going to fire it off after we finish punching them. If you want to do it as soon as we punch them, you don't need the delay here, but you'll need to put it after we set the health. So I'm then going to create another variable, naming this one health. So hit the plus variable on the bottom left, name it health, and the top right, change it from a boolean to an integer or a float. Either one will do. We're going to drag and drop health and set it there, and then we're also going to get health minus an integer, so integer minus an integer going into the health there, and then we're going to create another variable, naming this one damage, keeping it as an integer, connecting that into the bottom minus there. We'll compile and change the default values. So if we select the health, I'm going to have the default value as 100, so the AI has 100 health, and the damage I'm going to set to be 25. So every time we punch them, we deal 25 damage. Now a good reason for putting it in an integer is because you can then change this later on via code if you wanted, so one punch might do more damage, and I do have videos on doing that as well, setting up a better damage system like this, which again I'll leave in the description down below and on screen now. After this, we want to see if the AI is dead or not. So we're going to come out of health and get a less than or equal to. So an integer is less than or equal to an integer, leaving the bottom one as 0, because obviously if they have less than or equal to 0 health, they're going to be dead. Then let's hold down B, left click to get a branch, with that as the condition, and the execution going to the set health, because again, we want to see if this is true or not. Out of false, so if we're not dead, we're going to go into the reset of the do once there, so that they can then be punched once again, because obviously if they're not dead, we want to be able to punch them again so we can kill them, like so. Out of true, if they are dead, we want to play an animation for them dying. So I'm going to come out of true, and once again, play sound at location, so again you can play a sound effect if you wanted to. The sound I believe I called dying or death cue there. Location is again going to be get actor location, so it's wherever the AI is. After this, we're going to play anim montage, using a similar method we used before of playing a random animation. So I'm going to right click this, promote to variable, naming it death anim array, disconnect it like that, and then I'm going to change it to be an array up on the top right like we did earlier, change variable type, close that, compile, and then we can add in our death animations in here. So let's hit a plus add element, search for death or dying, and I have 3. So I'm going to get dying 1 montage, and add 2 more, and then add in my other ones, so dying 2 montage, and just dying montage. So now it has a 33% chance to play one of these random montages here, which is perfect. Again, it just keeps it a bit different. It stops it being so repetitive of having the same animation each time. Out of this, we're going to get a copy, connecting the output into the anim montage there, and again, the index is going to be a random integer in range, minimum as 0, maximum as 2, as we have 3 animations, so we've got 0, 1, and 2. And then we're going to hold down D, left click to get another delay, connecting the execution, return value in there like so. And out of this, we're going to just simply get destroy actor. So what it's going to do is just simply get rid of this AI once they're dead. So we're going to compile, save that, go back to our character blueprint, and as AI punched updated, or whatever it is for you, we're going to call function hit, or punched, or whatever you named it. And now when we punch the AI, it's going to fire off this code to deal damage to them. So that should work perfectly. We can compile, save that. And now there's just 2 finishing touches we need to do. So if we minimize this, we need to open up our animation blueprint, which for me is content, mannequin, animations, third person and MVP, and I have the same one for the character and the AI. If you have separate ones, open both of them up, and make sure you have default slot in here like so, as that allows us to use animation montages. If you don't have it, you can simply just come out of the state machine here in the anim graph, so select anim graph up there, come out of the state machine and get a default slot like so, connecting it between the state machine and the output pose. Close that, and the other thing what I want to do is open up the dying montages. So for me, that's going to be in content and then punch updated. I'm going to open up dying 1 montage, dying 2 montage, dying montage, like so. And what I want to do is just make it so that these don't end. So at the end of them, they're going to stand back up. I don't want that to happen. I just want them to lay on the floor until they're destroyed. So a simple way to do that is just untick enable auto blend out, and that means they'll just stay in the final pose. I'm going to save that and do that for all of these. So it's a very simple little trick, but it's also very handy and gives us a nice little effect as well. And now that should be everything done for us. So if we drag and drop some AI in here, which I already have, so I hit play to test this out. If I left click, we get the punch there. So that works perfectly. So now we're punching with a random animation each time. If I go over here, left click to punch, we punched with our right hand, they reacted with the right impact. If we punch with the left, that didn't hit, but again, I think what I've done is I've named them wrong. If I punch with the right there, that worked. So yeah, let's check the names, because I believe what it did was it ran the check on the right hand instead of the left, purely because the names were probably wrong in here. So again, the simple way to do that is just make sure that you open them up and check right. So that's the right hand, it's got right in there. So make sure that A, you've got them on the correct ones, and B, you've spelt them correctly as well. So I'm just going to go through, double check and change these to see if I need to change them, and I'll get back to showing you how it works. So again, we can punch with the correct animation, correct reaction, random animations and random death montages as well afterwards, and this works perfectly for us. And again, we're dealing damage to them, and again, the reaction's perfect, all of that good stuff there. They died, and then the animation stayed there, and they got destroyed afterwards. So I think that'll be it for this video. We've done everything we want to do. We've just modified the code a little bit to make it a bit more efficient, work a bit better, and look a bit better as well. So we have different animations, actual reactions depending on which side they got hit from, like that. And also it works a bit better because we're using line traces, or capsule traces, sorry, instead of just a normal box collision overlap. So that just makes it run more efficiently, like so. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, make sure to like, subscribe down below. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.